Welcome back, viewers. You're watching Beyond World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Chandra.
And I'm Heem Khorsara, and on the show today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will embark today on an official visit to Japan and China. This would be Prime Minister Modi's 8th visit to Japan and the first summit with his Japanese counterpart, Shigeru Ishiba. We'll be bringing you the latest on this.
Also on the other side, all United Nations Security Council members except the United States have said that the famine in Gaza is a man-made crisis. 14 council members, they've called for an immediate, unconditional and permanent ceasefire among several other key points which have been made. We'll bring you all the details right here on World DNA. Let's start with the headlines. Syrian state media says Israel carried out fresh strikes and a raid by helicopter-borne troops in Damascus area. Reports say Israel had first struck the site, killing 6 Syrian soldiers on Tuesday after surveillance devices were found there.
It is entirely man-made, and, as my Foreign Secretary has said, it is a moral outrage. The United Kingdom opposes...
All UN Security Council members except the United States famine in Gaza is a man-made crisis. This is Gaza Health Ministry says 10 more Palestinians have died of starvation in the Strip.
US President Donald Trump holds policy meeting on the Gaza war. White House official says he received inputs from former British Prime Minister Tony Blair and former Trump West Asia envoy Jared Kushner.
FBI says it is investigating a mass shooting in Minneapolis as an act of terrorism and an anti-Catholic hate crime. 23-year-old Robin Westman had opened fire on students attending mass at a Catholic school, killing 2 children and injuring dozens.
Fight erupts in Mexico's Senate with punches and a lot of shouting. The violence started after an opposition party leader grabbed the chamber's president as lawmakers were singing the national anthem to mark the end of the day's hearing.
Concluye esta sesión de la Comisión Permanente del Congreso de la Unión correspondiente a este miércoles 27 de agosto del presente.
In Pakistan, flooding submerges the Kartarpur Sikh shrine. Authorities blow up an embankment to prevent damage to a nearby dam as flood alerts triggered throughout the Punjab province.
Prime Minister Modi will begin his official visit to Japan and China today. He will hold the 15th India-Japan Annual Summit with his Japanese counterpart Shigeru Ishiba, and then he will attend the SCO Summit in China.
Foreign visitors to Bali are being reminded to carry their passports whenever they go out. The reminders come amid a broader crackdown on visa violations after authorities reported a rise in offences.
Nvidia posted record-breaking $46.7 billion revenue, but shares dipped 3% as China sales plunged and investors worried about a potential AI spending bubble. CEO Jensen Huang says demand remains strong, but geopolitical tensions cloud future outlook.
Manchester United plunged to a new low. The Red Devils are knocked out of the EFL Cup by fourth-tier Grimsby Town in one of the biggest upsets. Now, Pope Leo XIV has called for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, condemning Israel's collective punishment and forced displacement of Palestinians.
Now, the appeal comes as health authorities in Gaza report that 10 Palestinians, including 2 children, have died from starvation in just the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of starvation-related deaths now to at least 313, including 119 children, and this is since the conflict began.
Di uso indiscriminato della forza.
In particular, the obligation to protect civilians and the prohibitions on collective punishment, indiscriminate use of force, and forced displacement of the population. I endorse the joint statement issued yesterday by the Greek Orthodox and Latin Patriarchs of Jerusalem calling for an end to this spiral of violence, for an end to the war, and for priority to be given to the common good of the people.
Priorità al bene comune delle persone.
At UNSC, all members except the United States voiced alarm at the declaration of famine in Gaza City by international experts, calling it a man-made crisis, and warned that the use of starvation as a weapon of war is banned under international humanitarian law.
All hostages held by Hamas and other groups. We call for a substantive surge of
Algeria's UN ambassador held up photographs of dead and starving children and a slain journalist during a heated United Nations Security Council meeting, accusing Israel of causing deaths in Gaza, prompting a sharp rebuttal from Israel's envoy.
Addressing a UN Security Council meeting on the Israel-Palestine conflict, the head of Save the Children described in horrific detail the slow agony of starving children in Gaza, saying they're so weak they do not cry.
Children do not have the strength to speak or even cry out in agony. They lie there, emaciated, quite literally wasting away. Their tiny bodies overcome by hunger and disease. The medical and specialized nutrition supplies they need all but used up.
Israel's representative to the United Nations, Danny Danon, called the recent IPC report of famine in Gaza a fabricated report for changing its normal standards.
An echo chamber that swaps facts for slogans. Look no further for evidence than the IPC report. Maybe we should call it the fabricated report. The IPC lowered its own thresholds to manufacture a so-called famine. It cut the global standard from 30% to 15% for the report only, for this report only, and ignored its second criteria altogether.
Now, the Palestinian ambassador addressed the Security Council and called for a ceasefire. He condemned Israel for rejecting a truce deal.
We need real pressure to stop the flood of suffering and start the flood of humanitarian aid into Gaza, to restore the United Nations presence, including UNRWA, in the occupied Palestinian territory, and restore humanity to humanitarian aid to save millions of people.
Top US envoy at the United Nations, Dorothy Shea, lamented Security Council inaction on resolving the conflict in Gaza. She blamed Hamas for renewed fighting in the Gaza Strip. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Teherani has sent us this report from the UN headquarters. Listen to this.
At the United Nations on Wednesday, Security Council members clashed over Israel's expanded campaign in Gaza and the worsening humanitarian crisis. Deputy UN Envoy Ramiz Al-Akbarov warned that famine in Gaza is entirely man-made. 14 members, all but the United States, issued a joint statement condemning the use of starvation as a weapon of war and demanded Israel lift restrictions on relief. Washington instead placed the blame on Hamas and resisted any council resolution. Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, urged council to blacklist Hamas as a terrorist group, stressing that the freedom of hostages cannot wait. Meanwhile, in Washington, President Trump met with former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair and his former Middle East envoy Jared Kushner on Gaza policy, while Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with his Israeli counterpart. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
And Syrian state media has said that Israel carried out fresh strikes and a raid by a helicopter-borne troops in Damascus area today.
Syrian authorities have said that Israel had first struck the site, killing 6 Syrian soldiers on Tuesday after surveillance and eavesdropping devices were found there.
Now, as per the Damascus Foreign Ministry and state media, Israel had struck the site near Kishwe outside Damascus on Tuesday and bombed it again on Wednesday. Quoting a government source, the state-run news outlet Sana said that soldiers had found surveillance and eavesdropping devices in the area before it was hit by Israeli strikes on Tuesday. According to a defense ministry official, the site was a former Syrian military base in Tal Maneh. Following the second attack on Wednesday, state media said that Israeli troops were flown into the area to carry out a raid.
Now, the Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which relies on a network of sources on the ground, reported that the site had weapons used by Iran-backed Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. The observatory said that Israeli ground raid was the first of its kind since the fall of former Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad in an Islamist-led rebel offensive in December.
Israel has carried out hundreds of strikes in Syria since Assad fell and occupied much of a UN-patrolled demilitarized zone of the armistice line between the two countries.
And another shooting has shocked the United States. A heavily armed shooter opened fire at school children attending a church service in Minneapolis city. 2 pupils were killed and dozens were wounded. Police say that the attacker, identified as a 23-year-old Robin Westman, that's his name, he sprayed bullets through the windows of the church as dozens of young students were at a mass marking their first week back at school.
I was just at church, and I heard something like really loud, like I thought it was fireworks in the church, and then I saw the shooting, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. And so a teacher led me downstairs to the preschool classroom, and so I went there, and me and my friend Cece were just praying, and then we went outside. We were just waiting there, and then we went to somebody's house to be safe.
My husband's a firefighter, and he got a phone call this morning and said that there was a incident at Annunciation, and that's where my niece and nephew go to school. So we live nearby, so he just took off on foot. And my brother-in-law is a firefighter too, and it's his kids that go to Annunciation. And thankfully, we heard about 15 minutes ago that they're safe.
Now, FBI Director Kash Patel said the agency is investigating the deadly shooting as an act of terrorism as well as an anti-Catholic hate crime.
Reacting to the incident, US President Donald Trump has said, I quote here, I have been fully briefed on the tragic shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The White House will continue to monitor this terrible situation. Please join me in praying for everyone involved. Governor Tim Walz called the shooting horrific. Walz said, I'm praying for our kids and teachers whose first week of school was marred by this horrific act of violence.
The gunfire was the latest in a series of fatal shootings in the city in less than 24 hours. Earlier, a gunman opened fire with a high-velocity rifle at a group standing on a sidewalk.
And Greenland is back in the spotlight. Denmark summoned the US charge d'affaires following reports of American attempts to interfere in the autonomous territory.
Now, according to a local Danish public television network, US officials reportedly tried to gather information in Greenland's capital about local opinions on relations with the United States and tensions between Greenland and Denmark. The information also pertains to sensitive historical issues like forced removal of Inuit children and forced contraception of women.
Denmark's Foreign Minister Lars Rasmussen sends a strong hands-off Greenland message. He says that they are fully aware of a growing international interest in Greenland and warns that any attempt to influence the island's future or interfere in internal affairs is simply unacceptable.
According to analysts, Greenlanders largely want independence from Denmark, but they are not ready to become part of the United States. Since returning to the White House in January, Trump has repeatedly said America needs the strategically located, resource-rich island for security reasons. The vast semi-autonomous Danish territory on the shortest route between North America and Europe, vital for the US ballistic missile warning system, and has refused to rule out the use of force to secure it.
Back in March, US Vice President J.D. Vance accused Denmark of leaving Greenland exposed to potential influence from China and Russia. His comments came during an uninvited visit to the Arctic island, further escalating tensions.
2 months before that, in January, Donald Trump Jr. also made a trip to Greenland, which marked a renewed US interest in the strategically located island.
In response to growing geopolitical pressure, Copenhagen announced a $2 billion plan in January to strengthen Denmark's military presence in the Arctic. Both Denmark and US maintain strategic and military interests in the region, including the critical US missile defense base at Pituffik. And California Governor Gavin Newsom has stepped up his criticism of President Donald Trump
by using X's AI chatbot, escalating his online spat with the US President. Newsom insinuated that Trump has dementia, saying the 79-year-old repeats false things over and over again.
Now, the California governor used Grok X AI chatbot to ask about symptoms of dementia. Grok responded in the affirmative to the question, which was posted as a reaction to a clip in which Trump criticized Newsom over wildfires in Los Angeles. Newsom then shared a screenshot of Grok's response on X over a post by ACYN, quoting Trump's remarks on Tuesday.
But I think that's actually just an excuse. I actually think these people are sick. There's something wrong. So we send hundreds of millions of gallons of water a day into the Pacific Ocean. They turn a valve, and the valve heads out, and we turn the valve back. I actually had to do it using force. We turned the valve back, and now they have water, but not as much as they should have, because they should. And I'm telling Gavin Newsom by this conversation right now, turn the rest of the water on. Turn it on.
On Tuesday, Trump repeated a claim he first made in January that Newsom and other Democratic officials refused to provide water from northern areas to fight California wildfires. Trump blamed Newsom and the state administration for water shortage, which he claimed exacerbated the LA wildfires. The US president further claimed that the US military entered California and turned on the water.
Newsom had recently sued the president after Trump sent federal troops to Los Angeles without the governor's permission.
Now, China's state media and diplomats have criticized Washington after 9 Panamanian lawmakers joined the Global Parliamentary Alliance on China.
Beijing has described the alliance as an anti-China coalition, dismissed it as a tool of the United States and accused it of spreading disinformation. A day earlier, the lawmakers declared their membership in the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China, and the decision was formally presented in Panama's National Assembly at a ceremony attended and supported by the US ambassador. This drew sharp criticism from Chinese media outlets such as the China Daily and Global Times. Both outlets have accused Washington of coercion and manipulation. US ambassador has appreciated Panama for participating in the alliance and said that this has brought Panama even closer to democratic partners. Ambassador Cabrera also warned of growing Chinese influence worldwide. In China Daily editorial, Ambassador Cabrera's move was criticized as a latest proof of coercive and bullying actions by the US. Editorial termed it as a brazen attempt to drive a wedge between China and Panama.
Now, Ambassador Cabrera referred to reports of cyber attacks in Latin America and noted concerns about economic practices that contribute to unsustainable debt. He also pointed to a Chinese-owned company that Panama's Comptroller General says owes the government $600 million. Additionally, Deputy Manuel Cohen stated that the alliance's main objective is to uphold democracy and human rights across the region.
All eyes are on Moldova, a small nation squeezed between war-torn Ukraine and EU member Romania. On Wednesday, the leaders of France, Germany and Poland will land in Chisinau.
In a powerful show of support for President Maya Sandu and her push towards European Union membership. The timing is crucial, though, just a day before campaigning begins for next month's parliamentary elections, which are already under the shadow of alleged Russian interference. President and her allies say Moscow is pouring millions, even using cryptocurrency to boost pro-Russian parties and undermine the election. The warning is clear. Russia is trying to sway the vote, destabilize Moldova's democracy, and keep the country under its influence.
The European leaders will celebrate Moldova's 34th Independence Day, with President Sandu sending what they call a symbolic message to Moscow that Europe stands behind Moldova's independence, sovereignty and territorial integrity.
But inside Moldova, the electoral battle is sharply divided. Polls show Sandu's pro-EU party is losing ground, while pro-Russian blocs are gaining momentum. The stakes could not be higher for Moldova's future and for Europe's struggle with Russian influence beyond Ukraine. And Nigel Farage has become UK's leading political force.
Playing on the anti-immigration conservative platform, Farage's Reform UK has surged ahead of Labour and the Tories in all recent polls. Infused by the confidence of public trust, Farage has launched a campaign to counter Starmer's immigration policy.
Now, a day earlier, opposition leader Nigel Farage launched Operation Restoring Justice, a plan to stop the flow of illegal immigration from detention on arrival to immediate deportation. Farage has promised an unprecedented crackdown on immigration if voted to power.
The only way we will stop the boats is by detaining and deporting absolutely anyone that comes via that route.
Under his plan, Farage said reform would leave the European Convention on Human Rights. British Bill of Rights will replace the European law, which will only apply to British citizens and legal residents. And this will be UK's major exit campaign after Brexit. Nigel Farage also plans to allocate £2 billion to incentivize countries like Afghanistan to take back migrants.
The Taliban has indicated its willingness to accept deported Afghans from Britain. The senior Taliban official stated that while they wouldn't accept direct payments for repatriation deals, they would welcome aid aimed at supporting returned migrants.
Farage is betting big on immigration. Starmer has so far failed to quell public outrage on immigration, and protesters are taking their anger out on the streets outside hotels holding migrants. According to the latest poll, Farage's Reform UK has emerged as the most trusted party to handle immigration. 31% of voters think that Reform UK will deal with the issue of illegal immigration better. Only 9% trust Labour and 6% back the Conservatives.
And with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere. This is World DNA. Haim and I will be back with you on the other side. When we come back, Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Insaf has reportedly decided to boycott the upcoming by-elections. And according to reports published in local media, the decision was taken by Imran Khan himself during a meeting with his legal team. We'll bring you the details.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Vielleicht nur
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with Haim. I'm Shivan. Lots more to talk about, lots more to discuss. Let's start with the headlines.
In India's Himachal Pradesh, a portion of the Chandigarh-Manali highway got washed away as the Beas River flows in spate.
Hello. Hello.
In Pakistan, flooding submerges the Kartarpur Sikh shrine. Authorities blow up an embankment to prevent damage to a nearby dam as flood alerts triggered throughout the Punjab province.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will begin his official visit to Japan and China today. He will hold the 15th India-Japan Annual Summit with his Japanese counterpart, Shigeru Ishiba, and then he will attend the SCO Summit in China.
China says North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will attend the mega military parade in Beijing on September 3rd to mark 80 years since the end of Second World War.
FBI says it is investigating a mass shooting in Minneapolis as an act of terrorism and as an anti-Catholic hate crime. 23-year-old Robin Westman had opened fire on students attending mass at a Catholic school, killing 2 children and injuring dozens.
Syrian state media says Israel carried out fresh strikes and a raid by helicopter-borne troops in Damascus area. Reports say Israel had first struck the site, killing 6 Syrian soldiers on Tuesday after surveillance devices were found.
It is entirely man-made, and, as my Foreign Secretary has said, it is a moral outrage.
All UN Security Council members except the United States say famine in Gaza is a man-made crisis. This is Gaza Health Ministry says 10 more Palestinians have died of starvation in the Strip.
US President Trump holds policy meeting on the Gaza war. White House officials say he received input from former British Prime Minister Tony Blair and former Trump West Asia envoy Jared Kushner.
Fight erupts in Mexico's Senate with punches, pushing and shouting. The violence started after an opposition party leader grabbed the chamber's president as lawmakers were singing the national anthem to mark the end of the day's hearing.
Concluye esta sesión de la Comisión Permanente del Congreso de la Unión correspondiente a este.
Foreign visitors to Bali are being reminded to carry their passports whenever they go out. The reminders come amid a broader crackdown on visa violations after authorities reported a rise in such offences.
At the end of the day, we will come together, says US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, calling India-US ties complicated as new Trump tariffs take effect.
Manchester United plunged to a new low. The Red Devils are knocked out of the EFL Cup by fourth-tier Grimsby Town in one of the biggest upsets. Pakistan is grappling with one of its most devastating monsoon seasons in recent history, with torrential rains and surging rivers.
Now, of course, this has triggered widespread flooding in the eastern province of Punjab. Villages have been submerged. Over 200,000 people have been displaced so far in the country.
In Narowal, residents are wading through chest-deep floodwaters. The relentless monsoon rains have turned streets into rivers and rivers into a threat few were prepared for.
Now, the Kartarpur Sahib Gurdwara, one of the holiest sites in the Sikh religion, has also been engulfed by flood waters. Three major rivers, that's the Chenab, Ravi and Satluj, have swollen to dangerous levels, forcing communities to flee.
This is first time we are seeing this kind of flood water, never seen before. God willing, when the water recedes, we will return to our homes. We left our animals. God willing, this is a temporary problem. The situation will become better soon.
On the 24th of August, India alerted Pakistan about possible cross-border flooding, prompting Islamabad to issue a warning.
Rescue operations are underway. Pakistan's army has been deployed across Punjab to assist with rescue efforts.
Rescuers have been stationed near Lahore's Ravi Bridge after authorities blew up an embankment at the Kadirabad Dam on the Chenab River to redirect rising waters and protect the dam structure.
Rising water levels in the Ravi River pose a very high risk, with people facing difficult conditions as the 2025 flood is reported to surpass the 1988 floods.
Since late June, over 800 lives have been lost nationwide and 150 are still missing due to rain-related disasters. Now, Pakistan's jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan has opened a new front against the country's government.
His party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, has reportedly decided to boycott the upcoming by-elections. According to reports published in local media, the decision was taken by Imran Khan during a meeting with his legal team. Later, the party's political committee finalized it, and the decision comes after the country's two major political parties announced a coalition. Ruling PMLN, led by Sharif's, and Pakistan People's Party, the PPP, led by Zardari, they have joined hands, with one being a major political force in Punjab and the other one in the southern province of Sindh. Elections of total 9 seats are slated to take place in 2 phases scheduled in September and October.
In the last general elections, Imran Khan's party claimed major election fraud. Several of their candidates claimed that they were declared losers despite winning.
Apart from the attack on the political front, Imran Khan has issued a strong statement against the country's army chief Asim Munir. According to his sister Alima Khan, Imran Khan said that there is no rule of law in Pakistan.
मोहसिन नकवी क्रिकेट के साथ कर रहे हैं, वही आसिम मुनीर पाकिस्तान के साथ कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि यहाँ पे हालात ये हैं कि रूल ऑफ लॉ खत्म हो गया.
Now, last week, Pakistan's Supreme Court granted major relief to jailed ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan. in a slew of cases related to violence on the 9th of May 2023. A three-member bench of Pakistan's top court granted bail to the PTI party founder. However, Khan continues to remain in jail in connection to the graft charges in the £190 million Al-Qadir Trust case.
Not just Imran Khan, his party is also caught up in a legal soup. Earlier this week, ATC of the city of Faisalabad convicted 75 PTI leaders and announced imprisonment for 10 years. This includes central PTI leadership and party workers, all of whom faced several charges in relation to the May 9th violence cases in 2023.
With the founder in jail and political survival at stake, PTI's election boycott marks a significant move. With country's government facing questions of legitimacy, PTI's boycott call could put a question mark on the legitimacy of upcoming by-elections as well.
Australia and the Philippines are holding one of the biggest military drills with over 3,500 soldiers.
The two nations have showcased their war readiness. Watch the images of the drills.
And let's take a look at all the top stories making headlines in India at this hour, starting with the Indian Prime Minister, who discussed the Ukraine conflict, trade and technology over a call with Finland's President Alexander Stubb. President Stubb shared his views and assessments on the recent talks in Washington on the resolution of the Ukraine war. Prime Minister Modi reiterated India's support for any peace initiative. The two leaders reviewed progress in bilateral ties and agreed to deepen cooperation in quantum technologies, 6G, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity and sustainability.
In Jammu and Kashmir, during a search operation, Police's Special Operations Group has recovered a cache of arms and ammunition from Bhuvan Forest in Rajwar. The items, which had been buried underground, included 22 UBGL grenades, 15 AK-47 rounds and other incriminating material. Officials said the recovery helped avert possible militant activities in the area, and police operations to ensure peace and security will continue.
A fire in Jammu and Kashmir's Kishtwar has damaged 6 residential houses and left 7 people injured. According to Medical Superintendent Yudhvir Singh, the injured were taken to the district hospital and 4 of them, reported to be in critical condition, were later referred to Government Medical College, Doda.
And as Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits Japan, the anticipation is high for a summit that could redefine bilateral trade ties.
At the heart of the gathering is a shared ambition to deepen economic cooperation focused on semiconductors, AI, critical minerals and clean energy. Tokyo has pledged $68 billion investments into India's semiconductor and AI sectors, offering Indian businesses critical capital and expertise at a time when supply chain realignments are redefining global trade flows.
Prime Minister Modi's visit is significant, especially after the US recently moved to impose tighter tariffs on Indian exports for buying Russian oil. Experts say Japan could emerge as a potential alternative partner to absorb capacity and jointly target US markets.
Additionally, India is seeking Japanese investments in critical mineral processing and hydrogen supply chains. It could also foster exchange of technological expertise in a rapidly evolving tech landscape. Modi's visit is expected to pave the way for a more resilient trade corridor, positioning Japan not only as a top investor in India, but also as a key enabler in offsetting Indian export constraints to the US. Nvidia's shares fell 3% after the company's outlook showed a slowdown in growth following an unprecedented 2-year surge in AI investment.
While Nvidia reported a record-breaking revenue of $46.7 billion in the June quarter, its China sales plunged. With some US restrictions on chip supply to China in place, the AI race runs through Nvidia. While CEO Jensen Huang said demand remains strong in AI investments, would surge geopolitical tensions cloud the outlook?
The world's largest firm projects revenue of $54 billion in the current quarter. Nvidia shares have rallied over 35% to push its market value to above $4 trillion. But the latest earnings report sparks the return on investment debate as China gears up with its own AI models at a much cheaper cost. Difficulties in China have also clouded in Nvidia's business. While the Trump administration recently eased curbs on exports of some AI chips to China, the reprieve hasn't yet translated into a rebound in revenue.
And a strange object is drifting through the cosmos. The James Webb Space Telescope has captured images that leave even top scientists puzzled.
Is it a comet or an asteroid or something far more extraordinary? More in this next report. Take a look.
It looks like a comet. It behaves like an asteroid. Yet, in the latest images from the James Webb Space Telescope, the object appears to defy simple explanations. And that's why the debate has exploded: comet, asteroid, or could it be a spaceship? A new visitor is screaming through our cosmic neighborhood, and it's causing quite a stir. Meet 3I Atlas, an interstellar object moving at a blistering 60 kilometers per second. First spotted in July, this celestial anomaly has a trajectory so statistically improbable, it's raising eyebrows at the highest levels of astrophysics. Its path includes a series of impossibly close flybys of Mars, the Sun, and Jupiter, a sequence of cosmic coincidences with a probability of just 0.05%. Now the James Webb Space Telescope's Deep Space Eye caught the mysterious traveler glowing faintly against the black canvas of space. Its trail is odd, not the fiery, predictable streak of a comet, not the silent, rock-like stillness of an asteroid. Instead, it shows unusual movement, almost calculated, almost deliberate. Is this a probe masking as a comet? Is the brightness an engineered signal? NASA says no. The world isn't so sure. With closest approach set for December, every eye is glued to the sky. Whatever happens next, it's clear. The sky has sent us another mystery, and the silence between the stars just got louder. Bureau Report, WION. World is one.
Now, Manchester United have crashed out of the EFL Cup in a manner that will haunt them for years to come.
The Red Devils have been dumped out on penalties by fourth-tier Grimsby Town in one of the biggest upsets in English football history. No United team has ever lost to a League Two side before in this competition. Even though Ruben Amorim's side is struggling, no one expected them to lose to Grimsby Town. United were trailing by 2 after 30 minutes following goals from Charles Burnham and Tyrell Warren. The hosts continue to make mockery of the 3-division gap between the two sides and could have scored a third. 20-time English top-flight champions United pulled one back through Brian Buemo with 15 minutes to go, and the visitors looked like they might squeeze through when Harry Maguire equalized in the 89th minute. The match went straight to penalties, and what followed was a shootout for the ages.
Only Grimsby, Clark Oddo and United's Matthew Schooner missed their penalties as each side's 11 took one. The players went again, and this time Mbumo missed his spot kick to give Grimsby a 12-11 victory. This was a monumental upset, and it sparked wild scenes as Grimsby fans flooded the ground to celebrate with their heroes.
Director Tyrell Alvin McCraney's play, The Brothers' Size, marks its 20th anniversary with a new production in New York City.
Now starring Andre Holland and Ogun Size and featuring Alani Longway and Ushosi Size along with Malcolm May and Elegba. The play will run from August 30th through the 28th of September at The Shed, which is an arts center in NYC.
I really relate to all of the characters in the play, but Ogun is a person who is, has deep love for his brother and a real sense of duty and obligation to protecting his family. He also is a very hard worker, which I think I am too, sometimes obsessively so. So I really connect to those things.
First performed in 2007, writer and director McCraney hopes today's audience can see that men need to connect. This revival introduces a new generation to his work and reminds audiences why its message still resonates even today.
Family is a theme that we consistently run into with plays. You go see a play, especially in American theater, and the backbone of those plays are usually the family life. Families can be unconventional, and sometimes brotherhoods exist outside of the bounds of what we think is bloodlines. And that's what is this play is showing us, that men, black men, need to connect, want to connect, and can do it in the most perilous, nightmarish places.
2 decades later, The Brothers' Size continues to celebrate the power of brotherhood, both on stage and beyond.
Now, after 8 years of meticulous craftsmanship, a retired metal worker from France completed a stunning replica of the Eiffel Tower.
It stands at 31 meters. The replica is a faithful homage to Gustave Eiffel's 1889 masterpiece. We are going to leave you here with these visuals. We'll slip into a short break after that. That's a wrap on World DNA. Stay with us. This is WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore